Howdy doody. I just wanted to remind you today is going to be a good day. You know why? Because you chose it to be. That's like I laid in bed for a while. Things going through my head of how situations are occurring. It was like watching a movie in my head. And then that box of stuff over there, those boxes, was stuff I need to take care of. Products that I want to work on that I'm just like, I don't want to do it today. It's my day off. And I need to go to the courthouse and I don't want to do that today. It's my day off. It's nothing pressing. It's just getting my last name back. Getting a final, I'm done. After 4 years of not knowing where somebody is and having the money to do it, it's like, okay, go take care of that stuff. But it's my day off and I don't want to do any of that. And then my neighbors just got home from their cruise and she's like, hey, I booked us a cruise, her and I. She's taking me on a cruise in October. And I'm like, thank you. That's awesome. I had a friend go, what do you do to these people? I'm just myself. Those are the rewards I'm talking about. Like when you're genuinely a good person, I have no expectations of this person taking me to do anything, but I'm not going to be like, no, I'm good. The old me would have been like, no, I'm going to owe you something. This new one's like, hells yeah. Like, okay, I'm down. I'm excited, you know? And that's where it comes down to. You have to decide today is going to be a good day. I was listening to Nappy Roots. We're going to have a good day. All our troubles going to fly away. You got to get in that mindset because you can have so much chaos and drama in your life. There's a guy at work that's like this. Every time I see him, I'm like, are you okay? I don't feel good. And you just attract the neggies into your life. Like, it's almost like dust bunnies under your bed. They're going to pop up if you have your bed up off the floor. When you leave space for it, I'll put it like that. And when I first met him, I was like, dude, you got to change your mindset. Like, you got to get in a better mentality of you control your life. Nobody's controlling your life. And he was at first like, okay, I can understand where you're coming from. And for about a month, he was good. But when you start changing your mindset like that, that's when the devil's like, hey, I thought we were friends. Like, hey, did you forget about that drama? Hold on, you forgot that, but let me give you another problem to think about. And the more that you try to get away from chaos and drama, you're going to have it thrown in your face left and right. It's the idea of how are you going to handle it? Are you going to keep showing up in the same energy feeling like you're a victim or you're defeated or, oh my God, I just lost everything. I have lost everything, I think 4 different times. I've had to start from scratch 4 different times with children. They were little at the time. And finally it was like, it's not losing everything, it's starting over. It's getting a chance to build a firmer foundation, something that is going to allow me to keep building on top of, because when we build on faulty foundations, that's where we start getting to the point where we can't even trust our own choices. You can say, hey, this was meant to work out this way, but that's having expectations for an outcome. When you have expectations for an outcome, it's not going to turn out the way you planned. If that's how life worked, I mean, we'd all be billionaires, right? Just saying. We'd all have really nice houses and drive really fancy cars and wouldn't have to work, and we'd all be royalty. But that's not how it works. You get back what you put in. And I can't say that enough, that what you're going to give to the world is what you're attracting into your life. You might not even realize who you are deep down and what you're putting out there. But the more that you see things you don't like in people, understand it's within you. It's for you to be able to look at yourself and go, oh, I need to work on that. I see things about people all the time that I'm like, ooh. And then I do see that was a part of me. And then I'm like, let me recheck myself. Okay, now let me redirect myself, you know? And let me go back to who I have been. Let me be the inspiring, encouraging, uplifting individual that I truly am at heart, instead of the one that I tend to navigate towards when I hang out around toxic, negative people. But then that also brings me to going, I'm just going to hang out by myself forever. forever. If you've ever seen The Sandlot, that was in The Sandlot. But it just gets to a point where you can't keep teeter-tottering, seesawing with negative and positive, negative and positive. You confuse the universe, which then in turn confuses you. You get to a point where you're like, I don't really even know what I'm thinking of anymore. I don't know where I'm going in my life. I don't know what I even expect out of it. That was the hardest question for me to answer, is what is it that you want? Especially in a partner. And I'm talking a long-term partner, and I'm like, till I can answer that correctly for myself and be okay with it and not want a new shopping list, I'm putting that on the back burner. It's sometimes you got to focus on your pentacles, your money and your career and your children and your family life. Sometimes you have to build back up from destruction that just surrounded you for so many years. And I used to be like, I'm never going to find anybody. I'm going to be alone forever. Not even too long ago, I felt like that. I felt victimized. And then I had to realize that it was never me being a victim. It was always me being able to move forward, but having to accept it. And then having to accept that I wasn't alone. I just didn't necessarily have that companionship, the person to go to bed with at night, or the person to share my woes with and listen to theirs and plan our day and our week and our life together. And at some point, I thought I had all that. Then it got to a point where I realized that the person I was doing that with was actually breaking my heart. They were manipulating the situation to benefit them and coming and going as they pleased. And then I had to go, oh yeah, there's something called self-respect. Get some. Create boundaries. And the thing is, you can build boundaries and have high standards, and then over time you let people whittle at them and you don't even realize you're doing it. My son always told me, Mama, you're not going to be alone forever just because you have high standards and big boundaries. Someone's going to actually step up to that one day. And I said, I know. Well, I thought somebody had. And never realized I was letting them slowly whittle at what I was okay with. And I was doing that by allowing them to come and go on their terms. There you go. I was letting them begin to dictate how I was going to react. And it was because there was manipulative behavior. And I thought I had already learned past that. Like, I can spot a manipulator from a mile away. Sometimes we can fool ourselves. Sometimes we have to relearn lessons. But then we have to come back and remind ourselves, today is going to be a good day. I didn't get duped. I got taught. I was allowed a chance to retake the test, let's say. Like when you're in school and you barely failed it or you missed that day and they're like, okay, well, we can have a makeup. And you're like, yes, I was going to take the failing points and have to redo my whole life all over again. And that's not exactly how we have to accept what goes on in our lives. Because the thing is, you do always have another chance. Tomorrow is always another day to try again. You're going to meet new people. You're going to come into different energies. Some you're going to love. Some you're going to be like, ugh, that just, ugh. I had a lady at work ask me to borrow something the other day, and I let her and she gave it back, and I was like, ugh. Like, I almost said she could keep it because the vibe that was on it felt really heavy, dark, and murky. And I don't know if everybody else is like that. If you can kind of tap into what that person possesses based off of the vibe, the energy they put off. We can smell people. We can see them. A lot of people judge based off of those senses. But a lot of times some of the most darkest individuals are some of the prettiest and most handsome individuals. So that's where we have to get to the point where we live and learn, Retake those tests. Be okay with that. And when you do retake them, sit back. Embrace what you've been through and be like, okay, I understand I allowed that to happen again. I don't have to say it will never happen again, because guess what? You can always still veer off path. It's like when you're on a trail in the woods The animals have made the trails for the most part, unless you're at a national campground and people went out and did it. But regardless, when you're following a trail, the trail can split and come back. And then you can get lost and be like, I don't even know where I started. It's happened several times in my life because I've spent a lot of time in the woods. I need to get back to the woods. But anyways, when you sit down and you just kind of, okay, I'm going to trust. I'm not going to have to live here forever. I'm going to trust that even if you find an animal, you could follow them and they're going to take you because that's a spirit guide that's coming to help you. But you have to have that faith and that trust. You have to believe that everything is being stopped in its tracks for you to maybe embrace the moment in which you're in. Maybe you're seeing something you would have never witnessed had you would have just kept going. And a lot of times we never even make it to our destination. But it's all the things in between that make that journey adventurous, that make you marvel at nature and life. There's so many surprises we overlook because most people stay on the concrete path. They only go to the places they can buy things at. Some of the places that offer the most abundant feelings and moments in time, you can go there for free. You don't have to buy anything. You can sit back and be like, wow, I'm at one with something great. I don't know if a lot of people remember that we come from nature. I said this in another video. Our ancestors were foragers and hunters and nomads and moved around. This new idea of life that we live that's permanent, and it costs you an arm and a leg to go somewhere. It's not who we are at the core of our soul. And it makes it really difficult, especially when you know that as a person, but you can't seem to interact with people that don't want to sweat or don't want to freeze or don't want to walk or, what, you want me to put forth an effort? I don't want to put forth an effort. Effort is so hard. We have running water. We have grocery stores. We have abilities to make things that are uncomfortable comfortable in the moment that they're uncomfortable. I don't get how everyone's okay with life just passing them by. There's a point where we got to get back to reality and go, if I don't put myself back in what is natural, then that which is unnatural is going to take over my world. It already happens. I'm already watching it. Technology is one of the biggest encroaching changes that everyone has just embraced. They don't care that you can't see the stars at night anymore. Most people don't sit outside and look. They don't care that there's more satellites in the sky that are messing with the path of what we can see in our night sky. People don't care that planes are flying and polluting everything at such a massive rate that our clouds are even becoming toxic. Our ozone is opening up. We're becoming more with space, more at one with space. We can't survive in space. So it gets to a point where, yeah, I know I talk about these uncommon topics. They kind of just spit out, you know, my jalopy on the road, just taking a ride. But it's things we seriously have to think about. What we're allowing, what we're okay with pushing in on us so much that we can't push back. We have to educate the next generation that there's got to be a balance. It's the same with eating unhealthy and healthy. If you only consume that which tastes so wonderful and that's a delicacy, if you only indulge in those things, you're going to get sick. If you only indulge in what makes you feel like a kid, you're going to get sick. If you don't invest in doing the hard work, there's nothing to reap because you're only going to reap what you sow. So we have to get back to the drawing board. We have to go, how can I balance this again? How can I allow all of this that's been created to exist among us instead of consume us? Because in the end, once it consumes you, you can't take it back. There's been a lot of movies that have been made to illustrate that for us, in the sense that they were even entertaining. Alice Through the Looking Glass, that one that they made like 10, 12 years ago, whatever it was. That one shows you the timekeeper. She's trying to put it back, and time is about to just be frozen in toxicity. And at the very last second, everything is saved. It's like that in every fairy tale. So at what point do we choose to live in a fairy tale instead of a nightmare? Because we're choosing the reality in which we are accepting. And it's the lion that you feed the most. You've got a toxic one, and one that will give you strength and defend you and guide you. What do you feed? Just food for thought. And don't forget, have a good day. Peace out.